Ron Paul has tapped into something that the Republican Party hasn't had. Young people, socially liberal, fiscally responsible, and they don't want anything to do with war. It's almost like a movement. And when I was down in Iowa, his stump speech is almost exactly what he says in the debates. He never talks about the Iowa manufacturing or the Iowa farmer or the small-town health care. I mean, it's all this big talk about how bad America is and what we've got to do with the Fed and everything else. You know the routine. But young people are gravitating to him. I saw that in the room in Newton, Iowa. It's the socially liberal, fiscal responsible kids that don't want to pay for anything else, so they don't want to go to war. Now, how big a tent is that with the Republican Party? Only time will tell.
We've just got some first numbers.
And no one cared. No one knew he was doing it. Running as a Republican puts him in televised debates, and people talk about what he thinks, and that's why he's doing it.
Let me interrupt here for a moment. We've just got a couple of our very first numbers here. Very, very, very small numbers of numbers. But here's what we've got here in terms of our Iowa results thus far. 9, 4, and 3, those are vote totals. Right now, 43%, 19%, and 14%, the division of labor between Ron Paul, Rick Perry, and Mitt Romney. This is only 1% of the vote in, so extrapolate from this at your peril. At this point, the NBC call on this is still that this is too early to call, and that the three candidates contending to win in Iowa tonight are Ron Paul, Mitt Romney, and Rick Santorum. I want to go to Chris Matthews in Des Moines. Chris, on the issue of whether or not Ron Paul's supporters are available to be courted by any means in the Republican Party, or if they're seen as a species apart. What's your view on that?
Well, I think the Republican Party has, unfortunately for it, built itself over the droppings of the Democratic Party for about 50 years. First of all, they picked up all the Dixiecrats, all the segregationists who went from the Democratic Party after the Civil Rights Bill of '64 and the Voting Rights Act. They all became Republicans because the Republicans were seen as the more rightist party. Then, of course, you got the moral majority who left after the prayer decision. They all moved over there. And now you've got the neocons, who are formerly liberals, some of them, all moved over there. They are so junk-laden with these droppings for the Democratic Party, they can't think. If they could think, if they were a dynamic political party, they would listen to Ron Paul, because they would hear in him the voice of Barry Goldwater, the old conservative party that took a reasonable view towards foreign policy, that wasn't crazy about this religious zeal to go to war in the Middle East over and over and over again, that wasn't moved around by the neocons. It would be a party that could think about foreign policy. The Republican Party today can't open its mind to Ron Paul's reasonable question: how can we keep overextending ourselves in the world at no cost? Because there is a cost. It keeps driving us into more and more involvement in foreign policy, more and more defense spending because of more and more involvement. And yet they can't think. And I think everybody tonight has said so. Their mind is closed because of these droppings that picked up from the Democratic Party. The neocons have closed down their mind, just like the segregationists closed down their mind about civil rights, and the moral majority closed down their minds about social issues. The party is dying of this intake, this effluent from the Democratic Party. That's my thought.